there is this incredibly specific, almost cinematic moment when you get engaged.
Oh, absolutely. The movie moment.
Right. It's that exact second the ring goes on the finger, or, the yes is said.
Yeah.
The champagne is popped, your family is crying, the photos are snapping, and you are just floating on this cloud of pure, unadulterated romance.
You're invincible.
Exactly. I mean, it feels like you have just unlocked this magical new level of the human experience.
Dopamine is just completely flooding your system at that point.
It really is. You feel like nothing can touch you. And then, well, usually about 48 to 72 hours later, the dopamine crash hits.
Hard.
So hard. You wake up at 3 in the morning in an absolute cold sweat.
Staring at the ceiling.
Yeah, just staring at the ceiling because you suddenly realize, wait, I have to actually pay for a wedding.
It is the ultimate violent collision of fantasy and reality, really.
Oh, definitely.
Because you go from the absolute peak of romantic abstraction, right, where everything is about love and destiny.
The fairy tale.
Right, straight into the dark valley of vendor invoices, non-refundable deposits, caterer headcounts.
It's brutal.
It's a completely different cognitive state.
I remember that feeling vividly, and I mean, it is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's the exact gap we are bridging today.
Yep.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We are exploring a highly strategic approach to navigating that terrifying transition from newly engaged bliss to, well, actual boots-on-the-ground financial execution.
Right.
And the mission of our discussion today is to figure out how you, and I mean you, the listener, whether you are currently planning a wedding, hoping to one day, or honestly just interested in the behavioral psychology of how two independent human beings merge their financial lives.
Which is fascinating on its own.
It really is. How you can survive this process without destroying your bank account, or more importantly, your relationship.
And we're doing this through a very specific lens today.
We are.
We aren't looking at the kind of dusty, traditional financial advice your grandparents might have received.
Right.
There will be no talk of putting physical pennies in a mason jar or, I don't know, balancing a paper checkbook.
Thank goodness, because nobody operates like that anymore.
No.
And that brings me to the framework we are using today. Today's source is this really fantastic strategic guide titled Setting Up a Joint Wedding Savings Account Early.
It's a great document.
It really is. But if you look at the modern digital landscape of wedding planning, there is this massive ecosystem built around a concept, or really an ethos, called Weddizer.
Right.
And it's often associated with the masterstevemind methodology. Now, to be clear, Weddizer isn't just like one single app you download.
No, it's way bigger than that.
Yeah, it is an entire digital paradigm. It's a philosophy of using interconnected digital tools, shared financial dashboards, and automated banking to seamlessly merge a couple's financial lives. It treats the modern wedding almost like a mini startup that you and your partner are co-founding.
That framing completely shifts the conversation, I think. Well, when we talk about the Weddizer approach, we are talking about engineering your environment so that good financial behavior happens automatically.
Ah, right.
It's about leveraging technology to remove the human error and really the emotional friction out of what has traditionally been a deeply stressful, deeply manual process.
Yeah, taking the emotion out of it.
Exactly.
Right.
The central premise here is that setting up a highly optimized automated joint account early in the engagement isn't just a clever math trick to earn a few bucks in interest.
Right.
It is a fundamental behavioral relationship building strategy.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people assume that saving for a wedding is purely an arithmetic problem.
Just numbers on a page.
Right, like you need $30,000, you have 12 months, so you need to save X amount per month. Simple.
In theory.
In theory, yeah. But the Weddizer philosophy leans heavily into the psychology of an early start, specifically to escape the debt trap.
Which is...
We all know credit card debt is bad. That's basic math. But what is the actual psychological mechanism happening when a couple tries to plan a wedding while simultaneously drowning in consumer debt?
To understand that, we have to look at behavioral economics and the concept of scarcity.
Okay.
When you are operating under intense financial pressure, it literally changes how your brain functions.
Really? Like physically?
Yeah. It triggers a low-grade, constant fight-or-flight response.
Wow.
Sinhil Mullainathan, he's a behavioral economist, he talks about how financial scarcity creates a bandwidth tax.
A bandwidth tax?
Right. It narrows your cognitive focus so severely that you literally cannot think long-term.
Oh, that makes sense.
You lose the capacity to experience joy in the present because your brain is constantly running these background calculations on just basic survival.
So it's like this ambient anxiety.
Precisely. Financial pressure is the absolute enemy of joy.
Yeah.
If you haven't set up a system early to systematically capture the funds for this wedding, every single decision you make becomes a nightmare.
Like the flowers, the food.
The color of the napkins, the DJ versus the live band, the type of frosting on the cake, it all becomes a battleground.
Because you're stressed about the money.
Right. Every choice is fraught with this underlying, unspoken terror of, we cannot afford this. It just poisons the entire planning process.
I always think about funding a wedding with high-interest credit cards. Like, well, imagine eating a massive, luxurious 10-course Michelin star meal.
Okay, sounds good so far.
Right. And then the second you swallow the last bite of dessert, someone puts a gun to your head and forces you to run a marathon.
That is incredibly visceral.
But it's true.
It is.
I mean, the wedding day was fantastic in the moment. The adrenaline carried you through.
Sure.
But the aftermath. The Monday morning after the honeymoon, when that first massive credit card bill hits your inbox.
It's crushing.
That is pure agonizing physical weight. You are literally carrying the financial ghost of a one-day party into the first 5 years of your marriage.
Which is why the Weddizer methodology advocates for a complete inversion of that timeline.
Right, flipping it around.
By establishing a joint automated savings vehicle early, you move from a mindset of panic, how will we pay for this tomorrow, to a mindset of empowerment. We have already systematically built the infrastructure for this today.
That's a huge shift.
You are buying peace of mind. When you look at a venue, you aren't calculating how many years of vacation you have to sacrifice to afford it.
Right.
You are simply checking the Weddizer dashboard to see if the automated fund covers it. The money is already spoken for.
But I want to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Please do.
Is it really just about the relief of not owing Visa or MasterCard?
Well,
Because I hear what you're saying about the bandwidth tax, but there are plenty of couples who have plenty of money, who don't need to go into debt, who still find the financial merging process absolutely excruciating.
oh, definitely.
There has to be a deeper emotional hurdle here than just avoiding interest rates, right?
What's fascinating here is that the debt is usually just the most visible symptom of a much deeper underlying disease.
Which is?
The real disease is a lack of financial intimacy and shared vision.
Financial intimacy.
Right. Merging money is terrifying because it requires a profound loss of autonomy.
That makes sense.
Think about it. When you are single, your money is your safety. Your money is your freedom.
Yeah.
Your money is how you express your identity. If you want to buy an expensive pair of shoes or invest in a risky stock, you just do it.
You don't have to ask anyone.
There is no consultation process.
Right. It's a pure me mindset.
Exactly. But the moment you agree to a joint wedding fund, you are forced to transition from me to we.
Oh, that's a tough pivot.
It is. You have to expose your financial habits, your blind spots, and your deepest anxieties about money to another human being.
That is incredibly vulnerable.
The early joint account acts as a crucible. It forces those uncomfortable conversations to happen before the stakes get too high.
Which brings us directly to the foundational behaviors required to actually make this work.
Right.
If we strip away the romance of the wedding industry, building a financial life together requires specific, actionable habits.
Absolutely.
And our source breaks this down into 5 pillars of a joint savings strategy.
Yeah, financial transparency, better budget management, stress-free planning, building financial trust, and encouraging savings discipline.
Let's dive into those. The Weddizer philosophy leans heavily on that first one, radical transparency.
It does.
The idea is that a digitally integrated joint account creates a glass house for your wedding funds.
I love that term.
Right. Both partners have the app. Both partners see every single deposit and every single withdrawal, total visibility.
And that kind of transparency is arguably the fastest, most potent way to build financial trust before the marriage even legally begins.
Because you can't hide anything.
Exactly. You aren't just sitting across the table telling your partner, hey, don't worry, I'm responsible with money.
Talk is cheap.
Right. You are demonstrating it empirically on a shared digital ledger month after month. You are proving your reliability.
Okay, I had to stop you right there.
Okay.
I hear glass house and radical transparency, and honestly, a shiver goes down my spine.
Too much pressure.
Doesn't hypervisibility have a dark side? I mean, if I have a shared app with my partner and they get a push notification every time I buy a $7 iced coffee, Doesn't that just breed paranoia?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Doesn't that create a dynamic where we are constantly policing each other's microtransactions? That sounds like a recipe for constant bickering, not trust.
That is a phenomenal point, and it's a trap many couples fall into.
Okay, so how do we avoid it?
This is where we need to distinguish between a targeted joint account and a total financial merger.
Ah,
The Weddizer approach for a wedding does not suggest you dump your entire paychecks into one massive pot and surrender all personal autonomy on day one.
oh, thank God. That sounds awful.
Right. It advocates for a dedicated, walled-off ecosystem specifically for the wedding. Think of it as a financial sandbox.
A financial sandbox. I like that. Explain the mechanics of that.
Well, in a sandbox, you are contained, right? You have a specific boundary.
Yeah.
You each maintain your individual checking accounts for your personal lives, your coffees, your gym memberships, your own autonomy.
Okay, so the iced coffee is safe.
The iced coffee is safe, but you agreed to automatically funnel a set portion of your income into the shared sandbox, which is the Weddizer Wedding Fund.
I see.
The transparency only applies to the sandbox. You are mutually accountable for the wedding money, but you aren't micromanaging each other's daily survival money.
Ah, I see. It's about building a specific muscle in a safe environment.
Exactly.
If someone messes up and accidentally overdraws the wedding account, which happens, it hurts and it requires a difficult conversation, but it doesn't mean the rent check bounces.
That's the key.
You are practicing the art of joint financial management without risking your individual livelihoods. And, I want to pose this to you, the listener.
Yeah.
If you are listening right now, think about your own financial habits.
They're probably pretty ingrained.
They are. Think about how merging them with another person requires a profound shift from a me mindset to a we mindset. It's not just a switch you flip.
It's an insulated training ground. The discipline you learn in that sandbox, setting a target, making automated contributions, denying a short-term impulse to protect the long-term goal, that is the exact same discipline you will need 5 years later when you are trying to save for a down payment on a house.
Or 10 years later when you are funding a college savings plan.
Exactly. You are building the marital infrastructure.
So we have the philosophy. We understand the why.
We do.
We are avoiding the bandwidth tax. We are building a sandbox. We are practicing transparency. But how do we actually do this?
The practical steps.
Right. What does the execution look like in a modern digital landscape? Because I know if the process is difficult or clunky, human beings just won't do it.
This is where the integration of digital tools becomes paramount. The source provides a highly specific 5-step blueprint.
Okay, let's hear the blueprint.
It involves choosing the right bank, deciding monthly contributions, setting a budget goal, opening the account together, and ultimately automating the entire process.
Let's focus on that first part.
Yeah.
The environment. Step 1. The old way was walking into a brick-and-mortar bank, sitting at a desk with a nice person in a suit, and signing physical paperwork to open a joint checking account.
Which is entirely obsolete for this purpose.
Right.
The Weddizer ethos demands an environment built for collaboration.
What does that look like?
We are talking about high-yield online savings accounts that offer features specifically designed for multiple users.
Okay.
You want a platform where you can both log in seamlessly from your smartphones, where you can set visual savings goals, like a progress bar that turns green as you get closer to paying for the venue.
Oh, I love a good progress bar.
Right. And where the money is earning a competitive interest rate while it sits there.
It's the gamification of saving.
Exactly.
And I want to jump straight to the automation piece, which is step 5, because I think this is the secret sauce.
It absolutely is.
If you have to manually log into your bank account on the first of every month, remember to transfer the money and physically push the button. You are going to fail.
You are introducing friction, and more importantly, you are relying on willpower.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Willpower is not a character trait. It is a finite biological resource.
Yes.
It's like a battery. You wake up with a certain amount of it, and every decision you make throughout the day depletes it.
Decision fatigue.
Exactly. By the time it's 8 p.m. on a Friday and you remember you need to transfer $500 to the wedding fund, but you also really want to book a weekend getaway, your willpower battery is dead. You will make the selfish choice.
That is the exact psychological trap of manual savings.
It's brutal.
You are forcing yourself to feel the pain of parting with your money over and over again. Every single month, you have to actively choose to sacrifice your present desires for a future event.
And that builds resentment.
That emotional friction breeds a ton of resentment.
So automation removes the choice.
Automation removes the human flaw entirely.
Wow.
You sit down together, you agree on the rules once, and you set up the recurring transfer. The money leaves your individual accounts the day after your paycheck hits, before you even have time to mentally register that it's there.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. You don't have to decide to save. You make one hard decision on a Sunday afternoon, and the software executes it flawlessly for the next 12 months.
I love that.
It turns an active, painful sacrifice into a passive, painless background process.
But wait, we skipped over the most explosive part of this entire blueprint.
Uh-oh. Which part?
Step 2, you said you sit down together and agree on the rules, specifically deciding how much each person contributes.
Ah, yes, the math.
Now, the common, pervasive societal narrative is that marriage is a partnership of equals. It's 50-50.
Right.
Everything should be split down the middle. So logically, both partners should be putting the exact same dollar amount into the Weddizer account, right?
That is perhaps the most dangerous financial myth in modern relationships.
Wait, really? I feel like people get very defensive about the 50-50 split. It feels fair. Why is it dangerous?
Because equal does not always mean equitable,
Okay, unpack that.
and insisting on arbitrary equality can absolutely destroy a relationship when there is an income disparity.
Right.
Let's look at a very realistic, common scenario. Imagine you have two partners. Partner A is a software engineer making $150,000 a year.
Nice.
Partner B is a public school teacher making $50,000 a year.
A very normal, realistic dynamic.
Absolutely. They decide they want a beautiful wedding, and they calculate they need to save $2,000 a month to hit their goal. If they blindly follow the 50-50 societal rule, they each need to contribute $1,000 a month.
Okay, I see where this is going, and it's grim.
For partner A, $1,000 a month is a noticeable expense, but it's entirely manageable.
Right. They make good money.
They might have to cut back on a few luxury purchases, but their lifestyle remains largely intact. But for partner B, the teacher,
Oh boy.
$1,000 a month is a catastrophic percentage of their take-home pay.
They are essentially being taxed into poverty to fund their own wedding.
Exactly. Partner B will suddenly find themselves unable to afford basic groceries. They will be stressed, anxious, and constantly operating in that scarcity mindset we talked about earlier.
The bandwidth tax comes right back.
Right back. Meanwhile, partner A is still ordering takeout and buying new clothes.
That's awful.
The resentment that builds in that scenario is toxic. Partner B is suffering silently, or maybe not so silently, while partner A feels perfectly fine, insulated by their higher income.
That is so profound because resentment is quiet.
It is.
It doesn't usually announce itself with a massive argument right away. It builds up over months of partner B eating ramen noodles while partner A is going out for drinks with coworkers.
All because they insisted on this rigid mathematical definition of fairness.
Which is why the most crucial part of this process is agreeing to proportional contributions based on income.
Yes.
It requires a brutally honest conversation. Partner A has to acknowledge their privilege in the dynamic, and partner B has to swallow their pride and admit they cannot match the financial output.
That is an enormous ego check for both people.
It is an ego death.
Truly. But if they can navigate it, they might decide that an equitable split is partner A contributing $1,500 and partner B contributing $500.
Which feels way better.
It reflects their actual financial reality. It ensures that both partners feel the same relative level of sacrifice rather than the same absolute dollar amount.
You are establishing the precedent that we are a team and we both contribute to the best of our abilities toward our shared goal without breaking either of us.
Yeah.
That's not just wedding planning. That is the cornerstone of marital longevity.
It is the moment you stop being two roommates splitting a bill and start being a unified economic entity.
Okay, so let's assume our couple has survived the ego death.
They made it through.
They have their proportional, equitable contributions figured out. They have their Weddizer-style shared digital sandbox. The automation is humming along perfectly in the background.
It's perfect. It feels bulletproof.
But, and here comes section 4 of our deep dive, human beings are remarkably good at self-sabotage.
Oh, we are the best at it.
What are the hidden landmines here? What are the common mistakes that can derail even a perfectly automated system?
The text outlines 4 big ones. The mistakes usually stem from a lack of ongoing communication or a failure to respect the boundaries of the system they just built.
Right.
One of the primary failures is simply not setting a concrete final budget goal.
Like just saving indefinitely.
Yes. If you don't agree on a hard cap, say $30,000, your savings account just becomes a bottomless pit.
That sounds dangerous.
It is. You don't know when to stop. Or if you're saving enough, it violates Parkinson's law.
What's that?
It states that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion.
Oh, right.
In finance, expenses expand to consume the available budget. If there is no ceiling, you will just keep finding more expensive things to add to the wedding to drain whatever cash is in the account.
So you need a finish line, or you're just running into the dark.
Exactly. And the second mistake is what we just talked about, unequal contributions without explicit agreement.
Right, this silent resentment.
But I want to focus heavily on the third mistake, which I think is the most insidious, tempting trap.
What is it?
Using the wedding fund for non-wedding expenses.
The fungibility trap.
Yes, exactly.
Explain that. Because I look at this scenario. You have this joint account. It's growing beautifully. You've been disciplined for 6 months. And suddenly there's $15,000 sitting there.
It's a nice chunk of change.
Yeah. You open the app and you see that big comforting number. And then, well, life happens. Your car's transmission blows up.
Oh, no.
Or your dog needs an expensive surgery. Or, on a lighter note, your favorite band announces a reunion tour and VIP tickets are available.
The temptation to raid the fund is overwhelming.
It is, because you think, well, it's our money. It's just sitting there doing nothing. We will borrow $2,000 to fix the car and we'll just pay it back next month.
Famous last words.
Why is that so dangerous? I mean, money is money, isn't it?
Logically, yes, money is fungible.
Mm.
A dollar in one account is mathematically the same as a dollar in another.
Right.
But psychologically, human beings operate on a system called mental accounting, a concept pioneered by Richard Thaler.
Mental accounting.
We assign subjective value and specific roles to different buckets of money. The moment you use the wedding fund to fix the car's transmission, you have violated the mental contract you made with that money.
You break the seal.
You break the seal. And once that boundary is compromised, the account loses its sanctity. It is no longer a dedicated safe space for your shared dream. It has been downgraded to a general slush fund.
That's a huge shift in perspective.
It is. The psychological barrier to dipping into it a second time for something less urgent like those concert tickets is drastically lowered.
I see. It's the slippery slope. If you justify it once for an emergency, you will eventually justify it for a convenience.
Exactly. The discipline required to look at a large pile of liquid cash and say, no, we cannot touch that. It has one specific purpose, and that purpose is not a transmission, is a critical life skill.
But what if you really need the money?
If an actual emergency arises, it should force a completely separate conversation about how you manage your emergency funds or your personal savings, not trigger an automatic raid on the wedding account.
That makes total sense.
If you allow that boundary to blur now, you are training yourselves to raid your own future to pay for your present.
You will do the exact same thing 10 years from now when you get tempted to raid your child's college fund to pay for a kitchen renovation.
Precisely the same behavioral mechanism.
Wow. And the fourth mistake the text mentions is just starting too late, which we've covered. It brings on that massive bandwidth tax.
Exactly.
So maintaining these boundaries requires constant vigilance. You don't just set up the Weddizer dashboard, turn on automation, and then ignore it for a year.
No, definitely not.
You have to actively manage the ecosystem. How do you do that without it becoming a second full-time job? Because no one wants that.
It requires scheduled maintenance, which brings us to Section 5. Best practices, tracking, and celebrating.
Okay, let's hear them.
The text advises communicating regularly through monthly check-ins, tracking expenses with apps or spreadsheets, staying flexible, and celebrating milestones.
Let's talk about the tracking part. The Weddizer and masterstevemind ecosystem is huge on this.
Oh, absolutely.
Because memory is terrible when it comes to money.
Memory is not just terrible, it is inherently biased.
Right.
Most couples don't fight about actual data. They fight about their conflicting memories of who paid for what.
Oh, I can picture it now.
I thought you handled the deposit for the florist. No, I told you I paid the photographer. You were supposed to handle the florist.
I'm getting stressed just hearing that hypothetical argument.
Right. But when you use a shared digital ledger, you remove the emotion and the flawed human memory from the equation.
You have proof.
You introduce an objective, neutral third party, the data. You can't argue with a spreadsheet.
Nope.
You just open the dashboard, and the truth is right there. It diffuses the tension before it could ignite into an argument.
It's like having a referee in the room.
Exactly.
But alongside that rigid empirical tracking, there is a seemingly contradictory necessity the text brings up. the ability to remain flexible.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, flexibility isn't a contradiction to the system. It is the shock absorber that prevents the system from shattering when it hits a pothole.
Because the universe absolutely does not care that you are getting married in 8 months.
The universe is entirely indifferent to your wedding. Life continues to happen. A partner might get laid off. A massive, unavoidable medical bill might arrive. Rent might increase by 30%.
And what do you do then?
If you have built a system that is too rigid, if you insist on saving that specific $2,000 a month, even after someone loses their job, the machine will break and the relationship will break with it.
You have to be able to look at the dashboard, acknowledge that the reality has changed, and pivot without assigning blame.
That is the true test of marital resilience.
Yeah.
Can you sit down, look at the reduced income and say, okay, the data has changed. We need to lower our monthly contribution, which means we either push the wedding date back or we cut the guest list by 50 people.
And that's a hard conversation.
It is. But can you have that conversation as a team against the problem rather than turning on each other?
You and me against the problem. That is a massive mental shift.
Changes everything.
And look, this all sounds incredibly heavy. We are talking about ego deaths, bandwidth taxes, and managing crises.
That could be a lot.
But there is a crucial behavioral reinforcement element here that we cannot ignore. We have to talk about celebration.
Ah, yes. Gamification and dopamine rewards.
Yes. Saving money is, by definition, the sacrifice of present pleasure for future benefit. It is an endurance sport.
It really is.
If your goal is $30,000 and you hit your first $5,000 milestone, you cannot just quietly log it in a spreadsheet and go to sleep.
That's depressing.
You have to actively manufacture joy in the present to keep the motivation alive.
Because the human brain needs immediate feedback to sustain a long-term habit.
Exactly. You acknowledge the milestone. You go out for a nice but reasonably budgeted dinner.
Right, don't throw the fund.
Right. You pop a bottle of champagne. You look at each other and say, look at what we just accomplished.
It reinforces the we mindset.
It builds a shared sense of pride. It proves that the sacrifice is actually yielding results.
And that shared pride is the ultimate glue. It transforms the financial process from a burden into a collaborative victory.
So if we pull all the way back and look at everything we've discussed today in this deep dive, the transparency, the automation, surviving the ego death of proportional contributions, maintaining boundaries against temptation, the monthly check-ins, what is the ultimate so what here?
That's the big question.
Why does this matter so deeply beyond just throwing a good party?
This raises the most important point of all, I think.
Yeah.
The wedding industry wants you to believe that the wedding is the finish line.
It definitely feels like it.
But the reality is, the joint wedding account is simply a financial boot camp for your entire marriage.
Financial boot camp. I love that.
By navigating the stress, the math, the compromises, and the inevitable friction of planning this single event, you are essentially beta testing your lifelong financial operating system.
Wow.
You are building the muscle memory of compromise. You are learning how your partner reacts to scarcity. You are learning how to apologize when you break a boundary.
So what does this all mean for you? And I'm talking directly to you, the listener. Whether you are knee-deep in floral arrangements right now, or you are just looking ahead at how you might one day merge your life with another human being.
It applies to everyone.
It really does. This methodology proves that the habits you build during your very first major joint project will absolutely dictate how you operate for decades.
Decades.
How you handle this Weddizer account, how you navigate the sandbox, is a direct preview of how you will handle buying your first house together.
It is.
It is a preview of how you will navigate the catastrophic costs of childcare or how you will align your visions for retirement.
That is the fundamental takeaway. The wedding itself is finite.
Mm-hmm.
It is a single, fleeting event.
Just one day?
The caterers will pack up their trucks, the flowers will wilt, and the music will stop.
Yeah.
But the infrastructure you built to get there, the communication skills, the digital tracking habits, the trust you prove to one another.
Those are infinite.
Those are infinite. Those are the actual assets you take into the marriage.
It is the first chapter of a very, very long book, and honestly, it changes how you look at the entire process.
It reframes it completely.
It's not about paying for a party, it's about proving to each other that you can survive the real world as a unit.
It is the literal foundation of your shared enterprise.
And I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have spent this entire deep dive talking about setting up this incredibly efficient automated joint account specifically for the wedding.
Right.
And the natural assumption is that once the final vendor is paid, you close the account and move on.
That's what most people do.
But imagine if, the morning after you return from your honeymoon, instead of logging in to close that Weddizer account, you simply hit the settings button and renamed it.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. You have already done the hardest part. You have survived the ego death. You have built the
Yeah,
habit.
you've put in the reps.
Exactly. You have learned to live without that automated monthly contribution. What if the exact same joint account, the exact same digital tracking tools, and the exact same automated transfers you used to pull off one single day were immediately redirected without missing a beat to fund your next massive lifelong dream?
A down payment.
A sabbatical, a business venture.
The possibilities are endless.
If you can build an engine powerful enough to fund a modern wedding, what kind of empire could you build together if you just kept the engine running?
That is an incredible thought.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take these tools, lean into the uncomfortable conversations, and start building your future together.